180 grams to 189. And you feel that trimming a lot more with a console that you hold in your hand than you ever would on a home console. But it wasn't just slimmer. The PSP Slim came with the one major upgrade of, assuming you had the right cable, being able to output directly into a TV. This is literally Nintendo Switch functionality in 2007. Sony was so ahead of its time. Do you know what? The quality fares really well when translated even to a much bigger screen. Nothing about this looks in any way subpar. Oh, this also reminds me of one of the things I used to spend so much of my time doing, changing my theme color. Tasty Treat applies a cookie theme to your entire device. Kind of adorable though. But Sony wasn't done yet. It's very clear that Nintendo's DS Lite, which had very quickly overtaken the original DS in sales, was front and center of Sony's mind. They were clearly doing everything they could to try and bottle that magic into their console, which led us to just 1 year after the Slim, the PSP 3000. Sony's mind. They were clearly doing everything they could to try and bottle that magic into their console, which led us to just 1 year after the Slim, the PSP 3000, or Slim and Lite. I always just imagine this as Sony grabbing a microphone and screaming, "Yes, we have Lite too!" Notice also how the boxes get smaller each time, as Sony trims down what it's giving, and then also figures out how to cram what they are giving into as little space as possible. Now, I wouldn't call the Slim and Lite a revolutionary console, but considering it came out so soon after the Slim, these are solid improvements. A brighter screen with 5 times the contrast ratio and an anti-glare coating, plus a microphone. You could literally Skype your friends on your PSP. This thing was so advanced, but it still didn't sell in massive numbers. So Sony decided, screw it. People clearly want something that is actually as slim and light as the DS Lite. We're gonna take that to the absolute extreme with the PSP Go. And I so remember seeing this thing in stores for the first time. Unbelievably excited that a handheld this cool existed, unbelievably jealous of anyone who actually got one. This thing, inspired by Sony's Milo personal communicator, is tiny. It's even cuter than my Milo communicator. And the form factor, it's just drool-worthy. This is one of the most robust, satisfying opening and closing mechanisms to date. It's even nicer than most foldable phones even today. But it did have a problem. See, PlayStation Portable as a platform, it wasn't designed with this level of portability in mind. You know, these UMD discs? Well, one of these, plus just the hardware required to read it, just that, is nearly the size of this console. So they axed it. The PSP Go couldn't play any kind of physical media, and you had to buy everything from the PlayStation Store. To compensate, they did give you 16 gigabytes of inbuilt storage, which with PSP games, it could go quite a long way. But, I mean, if you think the world now is not ready for all digital gaming, the world then was definitely not. Any real gamer hated the idea, and as gamers, we like to let people know that. This thing was such a commercial failure, in fact, that even a very dramatic Hail Mary, buy a Go and get
Sony to offer 10 free games to PSP Go users.
10 free games promotion by Sony could not save it. These were 10 proper games, by the way, in total worth more than the console itself, but people just wanted nothing to do with it. So, to actually make sure they shifted the bulk of their PSP
To make this straight, Sony has a good going with their home consoles, but had a rough start with their handhelds.
hardware before the next generation came out, Sony had to do the one thing they hadn't tried up until this point, getting the price down to the DS's level, the PSP Street, which apart from
I don't know why this video, every year PSP always have to compare its specs to the DS. I don't know if Sony was watching this.
on the Go is, I think, the coolest looking PSP with this slick matte finish. And they've also done that while shaving the price down by about $100 with the removal of stereo audio, the brightness buttons, and actually even Wi-Fi. That sounds major, but for most PSP users, including myself, Wi-Fi was not really a big part of the experience, so this was a smart revision. It's just, this price cut, it needed to come much earlier in the console's lifecycle, when people were still forming their opinions about the platform as a whole. I mean, the PSP at this point had been out for 7 years, which is enough time that people were starting to turn their attention to what's next. And so the idea of a cheap version of the last-gen console with less features, it's not exactly going to set the world on fire. But clearly, all of these console revisions, while none of them individually spectacularly successful, they did all pull together to push the PSP to a total sales number of 82 million consoles, which for a company whose last handheld was little more than a fidget toy
Yeah, that's pretty good enough.
is impressive. The stage was set